Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Morhonda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone. It is caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown! INDY! A 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Renew now, drives in low, throws up a shot. It doesn't go. Tipped up and in by Anthony Leal. Indiana takes the lead.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
Now, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hey, sports fans, welcome aboard and welcome into another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the fine folks at Hard Truth Distilling Company, home of their sweet mash bourbons and a host of other spirits that we know you'll love. And glad to have you here at the Hard Truth Studios as well, as we've got another great show on tap. Mike DeCourcy will join us, Chronic Hoosier, Travis Miller from Boiler Upload, plenty to talk about as we head into week number 3 of college football. But there's plenty of other things to talk about. We'll hear from Coach Kurt Cignetti of Indiana, by the way, as he met with the media yesterday ahead of their Indiana's game with UCLA as they open up conference play this week in the Big Ten and against a brand new Big Ten opponent. Nebraska lands a major recruit hot off of their big win. A big-time writer goes over to the college side and swarms continues to knock them deep. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you. Appreciate you being here with us on this beautiful Tuesday, another fine Tuesday. And speaking of great weather, I can tell you someplace where it's not been great, and that is out in Los Angeles, where it has been baking in the hundreds, man. But thank goodness, just upon arrival time, it's going to drop down. So mercy, I couldn't. That would just be horrible to go to Southern California and it be hotter than Hades. And we will be coming to you from Los Angeles on Friday as Indiana will take on the UCLA Bruins in their first Big Ten game of the season and also their first Big Ten matchup with a former Pac-12 squad. How is everybody doing today? Appreciate you. Thank you so much for jumping on board, whether and how you're listening on our affiliates. Down on the river, ESPN, the Ref 97.7, always the right call. Up in the region on 12:30 a.m., 104.7 FM, WJLB, the voice of the region, and the only sports station in town, 1380 The Fan in Fort Wayne. Make sure you keep it tuned right here to these stations for upcoming programming after. I know that Brian is on in Evansville and up in Fort Wayne, you've got Brett Rupp and the Sports Rush following us. So how's your day been? Brian points out that the Colts are a 3-point favorite at Green Bay. I don't know how the hell that's – is Green Bay that bad? Because there was nothing that I saw from the Colts that would make them a favorite in this week's game. We can talk about that. And Indiana is also a favorite going out to Los Angeles. That I'm not surprised by. I'm not shocked by. I'm a little surprised that Vegas is kind of jumping on the bandwagon already, but they know that. I mean, they expect a close game. Don't get me wrong, but I haven't come up with my score prediction for this week's game yet. But it will see Indiana on top. That's for certain. As a matter of fact, did I already? I think I placed a couple of $10 bets this weekend. And I tell you who I included my bets is Purdue. Purdue is getting 11.5 points? I forget. I'll have to pull that up. But Notre Dame is, they're going to be, they're smarting from that ugly, embarrassing home loss to a bye team. They basically, that's what I call them, a bye win, because you pay teams like Northern Illinois and Charlotte and Western Illinois and Florida International. Those are games you pay these teams to come in and play. They're called bye wins. Games that you're supposed to win. And Northern Illinois walked away with like $1.4 million and a big fat W out of Notre Dame Stadium. But Purdue is, I don't, we talked about, Travis Miller will be with us from Boiler Upload later, so we'll talk about it. But, and he'll be all excited. I hate so much to actually to be on the side of a potential Purdue upset, because we'll never get him back down out of the tree. But we'll look forward to talking to Travis about it. How's everybody doing on the Andy Moore Honda hotline? Thank you so much, and welcome again to the Hard Truth Studios. Hey, don't forget, support our sponsors. If you need a car, check out Andy Moore Honda, and I will hook you up with making sure you get the best deal possible. If you're in that situation, I'll send them your name. But and Hard Truth, of course. When you're out and about, the Hard Truth spirits are available all around, especially if you're listening to us in Indiana. But even in Florida, Michigan, it doesn't matter where you are. It's available, baby. I've seen it down in Florida. It's all over Florida. And they have some exquisite, usually when a company just starts making spirits, it's not something you can do overnight. You think about our bourbons that are around, and they've been around for a long time. What Hard Truth has been able to do in a short time in the last decade is utterly amazing. Their products are seriously top-notch, award-winning, and it starts with their sweet mash bourbon. Go check it out. But anytime you purchase something, I want you to do me a favor. Take a picture of yourself in the bottle and send it to me, and we'll put you into a drawing for something cool from Hard Truth. So appreciate you supporting our sponsors. Notre Dame at Purdue. Purdue now getting 10.5. I think it was 11.5, but I'm still taking the 10.5. Purdue or Notre Dame couldn't stop Northern Illinois at home. So I'm just not sold on Purdue. I never was sold on Purdue. If you listen to us regularly, the beginning of the year when they were a top 10 team, I'm like, why? What is this based on other than it's saying Notre Dame across their jersey? It was the same with Florida State. I'm like, and Michigan. All three of those teams I thought were just being ranked on name, and get at what has happened to all three of them. They've all been exposed. So Purdue has a shot to take what is a brutal non-con schedule. They have the game against Indiana State, which is a walkover. But then you've got Notre Dame coming in this week. Then they travel to Oregon State. Oregon State plays Oregon this weekend. That's going to be interesting because Oregon has not shown me to be not that team yet. But we'll talk about all of that. Lots of other things to talk about. Dana O'Neill, which I'm not sure, she's a national sports writer, very, very well respected, and has been in the game for, I think, 30 years. Heading to Villanova to work for the university. So kind of odd to see Jay Wright, who used to be the head coach of Villanova, is now working in the media, and the Dana O'Neill, who's worked in the media for 3 decades, is now working for Villanova. Just kind of a unique thing there. Kyle Schwarber hits an incredible mark last night. Or not last night. I think it was the night before last. He hit his 280th home run, which that's pretty cool for one thing, because he's closing in on 300 home runs. That's a special mark for anyone. But the 280th home run of his Major League Baseball career makes him the number one Hoosier in that category. So he has hit more home runs than any former Indiana University player in the majors. He passes Ted Kluszewski, which, if you don't know that name, you should. Ted Kluszewski was an incredible athlete. He not only played baseball for Indiana, played for the Cincinnati Reds in Major League Baseball, but was also, I believe, it was the 1945, is that correct? Big Ten championship team. Indiana won the Big Ten back then. He was on that team with George Taliaferro. Going to the Alley Bar in Bloomington, they have this incredible 4-foot by 12-foot size poster photo that someone found once upon a time, and it's up on their walls. It's incredible, from one of the old stadiums. So very, very, very cool. Also, hey, listeners, and this includes everybody that will listen to this later, but if you're going to the Indiana UCLA game, or especially if you live in California and you're a Hoosier fan, you're going to the game, where's a place we should get together? I think we need to do something either Friday night for a little bit, because I'm going to enjoy West Hollywood on Friday night. I'm not going to lie to you. Or Saturday before the game, because the game is a 7:30 Eastern time game, which makes it a 4:30 game on the West Coast. But ISB, we're going to take ISB from Indiana Sports Beat to Indiana Sports Bash. How about that? But let's have an Indiana Sports Bash out there. If you live out there and you know of a good spot, let's kind of coordinate that to go out there. Brian pointing out that Michigan somehow still ranked number 17. Yeah, it's because it's kind of because they don't want. It's like saying, all right, we don't want to say we were completely wrong, so they're still ranking them. Oddly enough, I'm in the process of today. My Big Ten football power index, the first one of the season, will come out. I wanted to wait. I would like to have waited one more week, but I'm going to go ahead and put it out this week to start. But because you can't. That's why the AP Top 25, it's crap, right? Especially now. As a matter of fact, it'll be crap for a while, because it's like that Michigan. You've got to work through. They're not. Most teams have not played anyone yet. Michigan has, but they were exposed. The teams that have played people, and some that haven't, have been exposed. So, my power index will absolutely be very fluid, where in a lot of times in the rankings, like, I don't think Michigan's the 17th best team in the country. In my rankings, they won't be. You're going to get put weekly where you deserve to be put. And you can move 10 spots up or down each week. It will not matter. That I promise you. Even though mine's not out in print yet, I'm going to go ahead and I'll read it off to you once I remember where to pull it up. Of course, number one is Ohio State. They're going to be number one until there's a reason for them not to be. And that is not yet. We'll take a break. I will bust this out for Mike DeCourcy and see if I can get agreement or rebuke. I'll take either. I'm just happy to be here. Hey, we've got a lot coming up. Glad to have it. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News joins us next here at the Hard Truth Studios. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
This segment is brought to you by Freethink Apparel. This segment is brought
In the market
to you
for
by
a new or
Freethink
used
Apparel.
vehicle? Well, nobody
This
beats the
segment is
prices
brought
and
to you by
selection of Andy Moore
Freethink
Honda in
Apparel.
Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Rebesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off your first order.
This segment is brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Tuesday. Thank you so much for being with us. The great Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News joins us. Mike, how are you, sir?
I am well this morning, Jim. How are you?
Good, man. The weather is fall-like, I guess is the best way to describe it. Chilly. It's fun. Here it's gone from, it's been amazing, first of all. This is an amazing summer. There's no complaints. Then when it got hot, boy, it was hot, and then boy, it dropped back down. It's been kind of I'll take it. No complaints, just descriptive. I'm wearing the long sleeves already. I didn't expect that. I went from wearing like a t-shirt and a fan, ceiling fans and all that to the long sleeves quickly. But that's how it works, man. How are you?
I'm well. We know there are broadcasters in this world who, even in this weather, would be wearing tank tops, right? We know that.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's braver than me, man. Yeah. How was your weekend?
Weekend was good. It was. We have similar weather, absolutely, here in Pittsburgh. So it's been delightful and fairly uneventful weekend, except for the Steelers starting out 1-0. That was a a nice little diversion on Sunday afternoon. But and ready for college football to really hit the gas now, right?
Absolutely.
With the Big Ten. I think we've had one or two Big Ten games, maybe one, not many. We've had
some
Maryland
appetizers.
Game. Yeah, but now we've got the Hoosiers heading out to UCLA, right? We've got some serious. Wait. Yes,
some juice. K-Bro, our good friend K-Bro, Kevin Brockway, pointing out it was a rough night for his Jets and the return of Aaron Rodgers. I gotta say, for a guy that's 106 years old and tore his Achilles. That if you don't realize, which thank God I don't realize through experience, but I know that's probably the toughest injury that there is. I know ACLs, MCLs, all that they've gotten so much better with that stuff. An Achilles is still devastating. And for someone his age to suffer that injury and then return well enough to play a professional sport in the late stages of his life. I'm not a huge fan of Aaron Rodgers. I think he's a little bit of a whack job, but I also respect what he did last night. And that's something.
I like that you just said the late stages of his life. I mean,
I'm sorry. I meant career. Yes, career. Thank you. Hell, I'd be dead. Hell, Mike, I'd be dead if that were the case. Don't worry. I'm putting myself in a bad spot. He's younger than I am.
Yes. And Kirk Cousins actually came back in even less time because Kirk Cousins did the same injury at playing the same position in the 8th week of last season, as opposed to Rodgers, who did it in the opener. He did in the 8th week and came back and played. Neither one of them played particularly well, to be honest. But they each of them had as well elements around them that were problematic. And specifically in this case, it was the Steelers defense and it was the Niners defense that made it really hard on both of them.
Yeah, I think K-Bro agrees with you to that effect. And last year, the Jets had a solid defense, surprisingly. I watched the Manning cast last night. It started out with Bill Belichick. I forget who was on in the middle, but they had Adam Sandler on as well. So I enjoy the Manning cast. I don't need somebody describing what just happened on the football field, like play by play as it goes. I can see it. I'd rather listen to those guys clown and goof. But the funny thing is, the whole time that they're clowning, watch Peyton Manning. His eyes never leave the game. Like he's listening to them, but it's like he's wanting to say, and look here, they did. He's wanting to get into the play the whole time. He can't stand it, and I love that. I think it's hilarious, but I love it. Robert says a little bit of a whack job is a bit of an understatement. We all have our crosses to bear. Trust me. He's definitely a little goof, but I don't know how much of that was on purpose. So there was that. Yes, the college season, man, it's about to we're week 3, so it's not completely moved in that direction yet, but there will be more conference games this week. But as far as Indiana goes, yes, this is a step up into the big time for Coach Cignetti, for everything that he is doing. There's a great importance to that. And again, I've said it 1,000 times, this schedule could not have laid out any more perfectly. And I think that while they bought themselves out of the Louisville game, which would have been last week, I'm wondering if Louisville is probably happy that happened. Indiana might have won that game, but that's neither here nor there. But I think that they made the right decision, getting their team ready to go, especially with all the it's a new offense, all that I think it was the right move. Now they go play a team that, while it's a Big Ten team, it's not Ohio State. So they're going to, again, be allowed to kind of work through some things, and they're going to be tested, but it's not like they're playing the culture of the Bears, and they're going to, so, and I think, and Mike, Indiana is a favorite in this game. A favorite going on the road to the Rose Bowl, which I didn't expect that, but I did and do expect an Indiana win.
Well, I think they have to play well to win. If they play poorly, they're not going to get away with that in most of their Big Ten games. But if they play well, the opportunity is definitely there, and it's a great opportunity. There was a story either Sunday or Monday in the LA Times by Ben Bolch, who does a terrific job covering the Bruins for the Times, and he talked about how they are anticipating a lot of Indiana fans to come out west to get their taste of the Rose Bowl, because the Hoosiers haven't been there in a very long time. It's not the same thing as playing in that game, but it is you get a chance to experience what an amazing venue that is, the Rose Bowl Stadium, iconic in multiple sports, not just college football, but also soccer. Some of the great soccer games in American history have been played in that venue. The 1999 World Cup final that the U.S. women won on a penalty kick. That game was played there. And I will say, I've been to LA many times. I vacationed there. I've been there for UCLA basketball games on many occasions, but I've never been to the Rose Bowl. So that's kind of one of those bucket list things that is still out there that I'd love to do. Whether it's to see a game or to see the stadium or to see the actual game, which usually isn't well timed for what I do. I would love to see the stadium. So I'm envious of all the Hoosiers that are going to ship out there this week. They talked about Minnesota. They've sold a lot of tickets to Minnesota fans, I think it was, as well, that are coming out west for those games. I think it's a really cool opportunity for IU fans to maybe see their team win a big game, but also to, one way or another, experience one of the iconic venues in all of sports. And let me tell you this, Jim. Let me tell you this. I went to on vacation. I might have mentioned this week. I did mention that I'd gone to Milan with my wife on vacation. But part of the vacation was going to one of the things that we did was to go to the San Siro to see Inter Milan play. Ideally, we wanted to see AC Milan play so we could see Christian Pulisic, but the schedule didn't work out. So we went to see Inter Milan play. And having been to Allen Fieldhouse and having been to Cameron, and having been to Pauley, there are reasons that there are certain places that are iconic in sports. Yankee Stadium, I was at the old Yankee Stadium once upon a time. There's a reason those places are iconic. Fenway and Wrigley as well. And so the IU fans who are going out there to experience that, I think they're going to understand after they've been there for an afternoon why it's so special. Even though I can't say from personal experience, I can say from personal experience that I've never been to one of those iconic venues and say, hey, what's the big deal? Why is everybody making a deal out of this? You can always feel it. The Garden, Madison Square Garden's another one. You walk in that building and you get it. And so I'm excited for those IU fans that are going to get a chance to go out there this weekend.
Absolutely. It is just an incredible place, set in an incredible place. That's part of the allure as well. It's in Pasadena, which is north of Los Angeles, but up under the, I don't know, is it the San Gabriel Mountains?
That's correct.
Wow. I don't know how I pulled that one out, but just the force of hearing it, I guess, but just a beautiful setting. I've been to the Rose Bowl, Mike, but not in the Rose Bowl. I was in Los Angeles the last time, and I'm like, I want to go see the Rose Bowl. Same difference. It wasn't for a game, unfortunately, but I get there, and I'm about to walk up to the Rose. They're shooting a commercial, and no one was allowed in or out in the stadium. And I'm like,
that's a shame. Are you
kidding me? So never did I dream that this would happen. The only bad thing is the Dodgers are out of town. I've not been to Chavez Ravine. And yes. I would love to. I screwed up last time. Didn't go there, but I think the Angels are in town this time around. And so I know some guys are maybe heading out to an Angels game, but Anaheim where's Anaheim?
Anaheim is south. It is south. It's about, if it's a good day, it's about 50 minutes south, I think, maybe a little less. But yeah, that's if it's a good day. If it's a bad day, it could be really a long trip.
I won't be going to Anaheim. I will not be doing anything south of Los Angeles because Pasadena is on the north side. I'm staying on the north side. I will not travel south. It's the traffic in Los Angeles may be the worst in the United States, although would be on a Saturday. That would only be like Chicago and Atlanta put together,
right?
On a weekend day. But so I'm staying a mile from the stadium. I'm going to Uber, boom, boom, boom. I'm not gonna worry about dealing with all that stuff. But I'm wondering how many people are actually making this trip. You talked earlier about the fans and how they're anticipating a lot of fans coming out from the various teams, especially programs like Indiana, who are not accustomed to getting to have played in the Rose Bowl of late. It's a cool. Luckily, when I say it's a cool spot, it hasn't been that way weather-wise, apparently. It has been like Death Valley here of late. But fortunately, this weekend, the temperatures are going back down. It has been extraordinarily hot out in Southern California. But, that would have been a tough weather switch for us. Normally they've got the great, perfect weather. It's why it's Southern California, but it's beautiful, crisp fall days here right now, and it's been like Death Valley out there.
Yeah, they've had a real rough go, and they're starting to get a lot of wildfires as a result. It has been very warm there. Hopefully, I haven't looked at the weather forecast for Saturday's game or whatever. Hopefully, it'll cool off a little bit, both for the sake of the climate out there as well as for the game. And of course, a 7:30 game. Probably gets a pretty decent temperature as well. But this is an ideal, like you said, it's an ideal schedule for the way the Hoosiers want to build this season. The biggest challenges in the first 5-6 weeks are all at home. The games on the road, like this one, it's not, as I said, not easy, and by any stretch, not an easy game, but a winnable game. And that's all you can ask for as a member of the Big Ten Conference, is that when you go on the road, you feel like it's a winnable game. And I think that the Hoosiers, based on the line, obviously based on their performances to date, based on, honestly, the Bruins' performances as well, it's a winnable game. And I'm very intrigued by how this program develops under Kurt Cignetti. Cignetti, you may know, sure, of course you know, but the audience may know, has deep Western Pennsylvania roots. I watched his father coach on many occasions, in many roles, and of course Kurt grew up in that environment and has become a distinguished coach in his own right. I know he's coming from JMU. So you may not immediately think of Western Pennsylvania when you think of Cignetti, but for those of us who know the history of Western Pennsylvania football, his dad is a very important part of that.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, and it shows. I'm a little surprised, Mike, that Kurt Cignetti's rise, I don't want to say took this long, but that he didn't seek out a faster rise than he did. I think he's 62, but he seems to be where he's supposed to be. That's the difference. At the right time, at the right program. Of all the people that have been hired to try to do what he's doing and have failed, and I don't mean that negatively towards them. Yeah. It's a hard job.
It is.
But go back through the names: Jerry DiNardo, Cam Cameron, Sam White doesn't really count because he left. But there's a lot of names that are on this list that have tried and failed. And there was something about Kurt Cignetti from day one that was different, that we saw as different, we felt as different. It was palpable. And we're seeing on the field is different. This past weekend, I'm sure you know, Indiana put 77 on the board. Yeah, it was against one of the worst teams in Division I football. But guess what? That they erased a record that stood for 123 years. I'm pretty positive Indiana played some clunkers between now and 123 years ago. So they had 122 other teams that had the chance to beat that and didn't. So to do it in your first year, in your second game, to put 700 yards up, another record, that just resonates. That says something to me. They did it. They didn't come close. They did it. And I don't care who it was against. It's just, it's not like I expect that against UCLA or anyone else, but the fact that they did that, and they also did it they scored 11 touchdowns, Mike. 10 different guys scored those touchdowns. 10 different guys and without trying. It's just how it worked out. That shows a nice variety of players to choose from. That shows, to me, it shows some depth at position, especially the running back position. The quarterback was not anything that I would say special. He did exactly what I expected him to do. He didn't make mistakes, Mike. And that's what this team also, Mike, went from 8 offensive penalties to 0.
Right.
And it doesn't matter who you're playing. Making mistakes is mental. And to erase that in 1 week, I think that was big.
Yeah, we saw that in the NFL all through the first week. Guys really struggling. It wasn't just the tackles trying to cheat back like they did in the Baltimore opener against Kansas City, where the tackles were constantly cheating back, and the refs kept saying, "Look, we're calling it," and they kept calling it, and they kept cheating back. It was guys really struggling to just do basic formation stuff, failing to cover up the tight end, things like that. Those elements they're endemic even at the NFL level. You can make those kinds of mistakes. And so to not make any of those sorts of mistakes where you forget the snap count, or you get a little eager, or you line up wrong so that an eligible receiver is covered. Those things all can be made at any level of football. And to go through an entire game without committing any of those is okay. So maybe because the opponent's not overwhelming, you're not going to hold as much and that sort of thing. But those other technical things that are easily transacted, none of them. That's a nice afternoon. And you do that. You do something similar to that against the better teams starting this weekend, if you want to say that, or maybe like when you get Maryland in or whatever. You do that against the better teams, and it's really helpful because you're going to at times have mistakes where a guy starts to beat you and you try to get away with a hold and it gets caught. Those things are going to happen to any football team. But if you can keep all the basic stuff, too much time, not getting the play call in time, so you end up either having to burn a timeout or take the flag for delay a game. Those kinds of things are the things that really haunt you.
Absolutely. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News is with us. We've got more coming up here at Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Ugly Grouper, located on Anna Maria Island, Florida. If you're already in the area or will be, Ugly Grouper has much more than just unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. They've got your favorite craft beers and cocktails along with live music every day. Family friendly and able to host private parties. Just go to theuglygrouper.com. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. We're back with more Mike DeCourcy right after this.
This segment is brought to you by the Ugly Grouper.
If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at cheryl@indyhomepros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@indyhomepros.com. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Rebesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's C-O-Y-L-E, to receive a discounted fundraiser.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
This segment is brought to you by the Fresh Fork in Bloomington.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday, week 3 of college football, and plenty going on. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News joined us, and Mike, for college athletics, a federal judge ordered the attorneys negotiating the House settlement that could reshape the business model of how college sports works. They've been ordered back to the drawing board to resolve concerns that she has about how the deal would limit the ways in which boosters can provide money to athletes. So, oh my God, the boosters are getting a shout out from judges now. But just when we thought this was getting close to kind of being a done deal, not so fast, my friend.
Yeah, it just goes back to this constant notion that you're going to create this level playing field. I read an article by a columnist about college sports last week that talked about, gosh, if this $22 million thing happens, then there will be teams that struggle to meet that figure. And so they might have trouble in recruiting. And I'm like, when has recruiting in any sport ever been even, Jim? Does Kentucky, when Calipari was at Kentucky, did they and Duke not get all the top 10 guys? It didn't change. And it's not like the best recruiters or the best programs are always going to get the best players. And they're going to do it now because they're smart enough with how they spend their money. But it's always going to be about that. You're never going to create a level playing field unless you decide to go to an employer-employee relationship and negotiate with the players as some sort of players association and institute a salary cap. That's the only way. If you don't want to do that, and they clearly don't, and I don't blame them for not wanting to go employer-employee, they have to stop pretending that you can create a level playing field. It's never going to be that. Alabama, unless they get a coach who really doesn't know what he or she is doing, is going to be Alabama. And Ohio State is going to be Ohio State. And you have to actively, at those programs, and we've seen it happen on occasion. I mean, Alabama had its periods where they weren't very good. But when they had Bear Bryant and they had Nick Saban, and who knows, maybe Kalen DeBoer will be that. He's been that everywhere else he's been. But if you don't screw it up at a place like that, you're going to win big. You may not win the championship every year, but you're going to win big. You have to actively screw it up. You have to be really bad at those places not to win big. And that's not going to change if the House settlement gets put back in place because they realize that they have to allow name, image, and likeness to go on as it has. You can't change it now. You allowed it to go on this way, and really you didn't. It's not that you had any choice. I mean, all the state laws really put you in the place where this had to go on. You can't change it now. There's only one way to change it. Well, two: congressional action, which is not forthcoming, or a employer-employee circumstance where you negotiate and install a salary cap. Those are the only ways that it goes back to being numerically balanced. But even if it's numerically balanced, Jim, the best players are still going to go to the programs that are well-run and traditionally strong. And can you break into that? Of course you can. Gonzaga's proven you can break into that. Certainly that's happened. And there have been football programs that have stepped forward and done that either on occasion, as was the case with Washington the last few years, or even permanently. We've seen some programs make a rise that hadn't been there before. LSU would be an example. They did not have a history of great success. They had the Cannon guy, Billy Cannon, who won the Heisman once upon a time, but they did not have dominant success through the 70s and 80s, and then they rose back up recently once the Death Valley became what it is. So you can do that, but you're not going to change the face of college football and make it this even balanced competition by installing a $22 million figure, and NIL has to become now clearly you're doing an advertisement for a boosters program or whatever, or a company, excuse me. You're not going to change it back. So why do they keep trying to force that to happen? And I guess they don't want to acknowledge the truth.
Yeah, and because the 22 million, that's not, you're not erasing NIL. You're also going to still have NIL. So these bigger, larger programs are going to have larger NIL budgets, programs going on. So yes, the big players are going to remain the big players.
But what they said, Jim, was that the NIL that we've seen as it's been established over the past 3-4 years, where basically originally it was supposed to be, the idea was, and it could have been if the NCAA had been more proactive, but once it became established, it seemed in theory that it would be, okay, Joe's car dealer is a booster of good old State U. And so Joe's going to hire the quarterback to come to his dealership and sign autographs, or he's going to have him do a TV commercial about how many great cars they have on lot. And it didn't become that. It became this thing where the collectives got together and they put the money into the NIL program, and the players would come and then they would kind of do stuff, but not necessarily the kinds of things that seemed like they would be promotional toward any particular business or businesses. And that's what the NCAA is now trying, or the NCAA's attorneys was trying to eliminate. And honestly, the plaintiff attorneys are just like, yeah, whatever. We want to get this settlement because we're going to get paid. That's my theory. I don't know that's true, but that they didn't necessarily have a stake in assuring that the NIL piece would stand as it has. They don't have any stake in that. They have a stake in the settlement and in establishing the idea of revenue sharing, because they think that's the way it should be. But they don't have any stake necessarily in NIL continuing as it has. But you can't change it once it's been established. That was always going to be something that would be broken. Either this judge, as has happened, said that's not going to work, come back with something else, or they would have settled this case and someone else would have brought a case against the idea that NIL was changing. And that would have cost the NCAA even more money. So it's actually a good thing for the NCAA and its membership that the judge stopped it here and said, no, go back to work. Because if they had settled this case as it was, the NCAA paying out big money on this, and then they would have gotten hit again by what I talked about, that somebody would have filed a suit saying, how could you take away this collective action and all the money that my clients were making or could make? And that would have put them right back into another jackpot.
Absolutely. I am looking so forward to this weekend's slate of games. And Purdue is going to be a surprise. I think Purdue can upset Notre Dame after what we saw last week. Notre Dame with one of their bye wins against Northern Illinois that didn't quite go as they had planned. That's a major loss for Notre Dame. And a major opportunity for Purdue because they have kind of a brutal non-con schedule. They had played Indiana State, but now they've got Notre Dame at home. Then they travel to Oregon State before they jump into their Big Ten schedule. But at what first looked like an insurmountable, brutal non-con schedule, if they can get a win over Notre Dame and come out of this even 2-1, if they go to Oregon State, they're ahead of the game, and that would be a gigantic win for that program, for Ryan Walters, because they were picked to finish last in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be hard, Jim, because Notre Dame will be focused. Will be angry at themselves for what they did over the weekend. They clearly were not, they were not all in on that game, and it cost them big. And it's a team. This Notre Dame team thought that they could basically. I'm not saying the team could, but the people who analyzed this Notre Dame team thought that the Irish had scheduled themselves into the playoff, basically. Gave them the top 10 ranking. I think they were 6 or 7 in the preseason poll. And I looked at their team, Jim, and I'm like, why do people think this is going to be a good team? What is it about this group that all of a sudden they're going to be significant? I didn't see that. I did see the schedule as being really poor and therefore an opportunity for them. But I never believed in them as a team. I would never have anticipated them doing what they did on Saturday. I would have been less surprised if it had happened at Purdue, given it's a road game, given that Purdue's a Big Ten team. But I did not ever believe in this Notre Dame team. So I think in a way it's going to be harder for the Boilermakers because the Irish will be focused now. And that idea of, we can just sort of go out and Notre Dame our way to success instead of actually having to bring it. I think it's going to be harder for them, but they can be confident now going into this that if they play great, that they could be in the game because if Northern Illinois can do it, certainly Purdue can.
At home, no less. What's up next for you, Mike?
Gosh, what's up next for me, Jim? I'm continuing to look at forward. And you know what I just realized when we were getting ready for this show today is that I expect that I will see you in less than 3 weeks for Big Ten basketball.
Oh
media.
my gosh. In
How about
Chicago.
That? You're digging into college football and I'm thinking hoop season's not that far away.
I keep forgetting about it. Big Ten basketball media days coming up in Chicago. Holy smokes. I remember we were saying that about football. It's like, hey, it's only 6 weeks away. Well, it's right behind it. Mike DeCourcy, I look forward to it, brother.
Can't wait, Jim. Take care.
Thank you. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We've got lots more coming up from the Hard Truth Studios. Right back with more after this.
This segment is brought to you by the Fresh Fork in Bloomington.
In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at cheryl@indyhomepros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@indyhomepros.com. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. The Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Marie Island, Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf Community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details. This segment is brought to you by the Fresh Fork in Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Thank you so much for being with us here at the Hard Truth Distilling Studios. Indiana Sports Beat Radio brought to you by Hard Truth Distilling. Make sure you are checking out their incredible line of spirits. Like I said, their Sweet Mass bourbons. Oh my, that's where it starts. But they've got Rise and Hard Road Rye. They've got some new ones. All of these were award-winning, by the way. And Hard Truth Distilling, listed as the #1 distiller in Indiana by the International Distilling Association. So, man, they, like I said earlier, they have in a decade put themselves in a position to become a major distiller in this country. And that's almost nearly impossible. That's like starting a football program in Division I and elevating yourself into the upper level. So congratulations, and keep the hard truth, as we'll keep bringing you the hard truth. And as speaking of the hard truth, I got a little of it myself as I am about to bust out my first Big Ten football power index of the season as we go into week 3, and that'll be out on the Hoosier.com. I'm just waiting to finish out. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams that are already in their spots, but I've just got to write their blurbs out. But I'll go ahead and start at the top. Of course, #1, Ohio State, until they lose, to be honest with you. They're gonna hold on to that place. I mean, they have the talent.
They're number 3 in the country, so it would be idiotic for them not to be the number 1 team in the league. But for me, the number 2 team is USC. Now they have clearly established they have the best win in the Big Ten Conference as of this moment, in my opinion, with the neutral site victory over LSU of the SEC. That was a big time win, but it's also like I said, the biggest win in the league so far this year. Number 3 for me right now is Penn State. And that is a very, very reluctant selection for me. I don't really like it, to be honest with you. Originally, I wanted to have Nebraska there because my list is going to be a very fluid list, and it's a week-to-week list. It's what you've done. And I think Nebraska has achieved more than Penn State has. I'm just not sure they're the better team yet, so I'm not going there. There's enough time. Penn State has a bye this week, as does Ohio State and USC. So the top 3 teams in the conference this week are off. They don't play. Nebraska will play. They will play Northern Iowa, but they're coming off of a gigantic win over Prime Time in Colorado, in which their defense knocked the living snot out of Colorado and literally knocked several Buffalo players out of the game, including Shiloh Sanders on the Colorado defense with a broken arm. But Nebraska looked very good. Their true freshman quarterback did not look like a true freshman. That is going to be a very interesting game come October 19th in Bloomington, Indiana, because I think Indiana is going to be 6-0 for that game. We'll get back to that. But remember, you heard that here first. Number 5, I've got Illinois. The second biggest win, I think, as they upset number 19 Kansas. I was not expecting a lot from Illinois this year. I'll be honest with you. So to get that win early, that's big for Brett Bielema and his squad. So I've got Illinois at number 5. And I wish I'd have brought this up with Mike, but doing this it's like doing the entire AP top 25 because there are 18 stinking teams in this league now. So I was like, good Lord, it took a lot longer than one would imagine. Number 5, Illinois. Number 6, Michigan State, another shocker. But they're coming off of an upset road win over Maryland, who may not be as good as we thought they might be, but still didn't think Michigan State had that much, and they go on the road and get a conference win. So to me, that's worthy of something, and they're in my number 6 spot. Number 7, I've got Oregon. Oregon, who started out high, it just looks shaky. They've struggled to beat 2 unranked opponents to start the season. After flirting with making the college football playoffs last year. This weekend, they take on an Oregon State team that will give Purdue fans a look at what they're going to face. And this is at Oregon State. So we'll get a better indication of Oregon. Number 8, I've got Wisconsin, who hosts Alabama this week. We'll get an opportunity to see really what Wisconsin is about. I'm just not sure about them. And in number 9, I have Indiana. They played a couple of cream puffs, but breaking a scoring record that stood for 123 years has to count for something, along with putting up 700 yards of offense with 10 different players finding the end zone. Shows variety, some depth. The Hoosiers defense has been stellar, except for brief moments. We'll have a completely better understanding of Indiana after this week's game on the road at UCLA in the Rose Bowl. Now, the next 5 teams, these are the 5 teams I don't have their blurbs written for, but I've got number 10, Washington, followed by Michigan, followed by Iowa, Rutgers, and Minnesota in those spots. And number 15, I have Purdue, who won their opener handily, 49-0 over Indiana State. They had week 2 off with a bye. And now they go into what appeared to be a brutal non-conference schedule. But this is turning out to potentially be a gigantic opportunity, as Notre Dame was somewhat exposed last week at home by Northern Illinois. Can Purdue pull off some more Boiler magic and knock off a top team at Ross-Ade Stadium this week? We'll find out. I've got Maryland down at 16 as they lose at home. Boom, you lose, you go. Number 17, I have UCLA. They start with an unusual schedule as well. They go to Hawaii, a road game to open the season. Very unusual for a Power 4 team. Then they have a bye, which not a second week. There should be no second week buys. Those are stupid. But second week bye, I guarantee you they would rather have had a game. Whether it was against Western Illinois, doesn't matter, against someone. But they don't. Now they welcome in the Indiana Hoosiers, who do have 2 games under their belt. And they are a 2.5-point underdog at home to the Hoosiers. I think Indiana wins this game. We'll talk more about it. The last team in the Big Ten I have is Northwestern. Northwestern makes you want to scream, "Go!" That's because they play on a soccer field right now. The Wildcats start the year with 3 straight home games. Now, they won their opener 13-6 over Miami of Ohio on the pitch. But the Blue Devils came into Evanston last week and left their mark with a 26-20 win. Northwestern loses at home. They desperately need to win this week as they take on Eastern Illinois, because honestly, this could be their last opportunity to get a win this season. Their remaining home football games will be against Indiana, Wisconsin, Ohio State, and Illinois. All teams that are already proven to be better than they are. That's their home games. Don't even want to talk about the road games. They're not winning on the road. So this could be Northwestern's last opportunity for a win. We'll see. But Purdue with a gigantic opportunity. Purdue and Indiana both have gigantic games this weekend. Indiana's is a conference game in the Rose Bowl in Los Angeles. That in and of itself brings attention. It will bring attention from the national pundits. If Indiana could go out west, get a win over UCLA in the Rose Bowl, go to 3-0, they come back home to play Charlotte. No doubt they're going to 4-0. Then they'll host Maryland at home. Maryland not looking good right now. I'm saying 5-0. Then they'll travel to Northwestern. You've heard me talk about the path to 6-0. Well, let's go ahead and add Chronic Hoosiers with us. Chronic, sorry, brother, I didn't know you were there.
No worries.
How you doing, man? I was just running off at the mouth. I'm sure you heard that.
No, not you.
No, I never imagined. But actually, perfect timing, because Purdue has a gigantic game this weekend at home against a Notre Dame team who they're primed for the picking. And that would be huge for the Boilermakers. But Indiana also with a gigantic game. Maybe this is a big game for a lot of reasons. I'm not going to put it up there as their biggest game in 40 years like some people have, because to me, the biggest game was just a few years ago at Ohio State when they barely lost to the Buckeyes by a touchdown. That would have been a gigantic win for Indiana. But this is still up there for different reasons. It's up there for perception. It's up there for trajectory. It's up there for continuity and really springboarding this team I've talked all year long about a path to 6-0, Chronic, and I started wondering if it was really going to end up being 5-1. I'm back to the 6-0 wagon because Indiana goes in as a favorite. I think they win this game, and then I think they win the next 3 and go 6-0.
I'll tell you what, this is it's big for a number of reasons, in my estimation. I think not the least of which is you've got to validate the success you've had so far. If my mentions are any indication, in recognizing too, my mentions are certainly not scientific by any stretch of the imagination. But all that being said, there's a lot of folks that aren't necessarily Indiana fans that are pretty skeptical of Indiana's success so far. And I understand Western Illinois is a not good team by any stretch of the imagination at all. That being said, though, there were, I think, 3 other top 25 teams just this last week that played FCS schools. I did not see a single one of them set a school record for offense, for scoring, total yards. Indiana's efficiency in that historic route was almost obscene how effective they were. And, yes, this is a glorified scrimmage game. There is no doubt about that. I don't think anybody can test that. But spare me you should be scheduling Bama BS, quite honestly. This is Indiana football. I don't know that anybody has any.
Well, plus you've got 9 Big Ten games already. You don't need to do, and those conferences do not do that. They play 8 conference games.
Yes, and make no mistake, this is the formula. This is what teams do. You schedule wins to mix in with your conference schedule, to mix in with your rivalry non-cons and everything else that you're obligated to do. There is value in playing games like this. If nothing else, you have a chance to go out there and put your guys through the paces against a team that they're not familiar with, playbooks that, they haven't seen over and over and over since, honestly, spring camp. But this is, for me, this was an opportunity not only to show that this team can lock in, can stay focused for 60 minutes, with the sole exception again being that final drive of the first half, which now we have a pattern that's formed there. But all that being said, you gave a ton of guys a lot of game day experience early in the season. Generally stayed healthy. I'm still waiting to see any definitive word on Bomba's status after his injury. But you got a lot of reps that you can't replace those in practice. And whether it be this next week at UCLA, it could be sometime further down the road later this season, where you've got to get into a little bit of your depth, and you're going to call on guys who have now been there. They've seen it. They've had success. They've been able to watch the film with their teammates and see exactly what worked. And just that confidence, just the experience that you garner from that, you can't replace that. You just simply can't. And, it's always great to see program records set. I'm not going to put an asterisk next to this one because of the opponent, because Lord knows Indiana's played a lot of trash teams before. I've seen quite a bit of it. I've also seen Indiana on the losing end when opposing teams just totally mismatched with us and had no qualms whatsoever about absolutely juicing every possession. That's what killer teams do. That's what good teams do, is they snuff out their opponents. They kill all the hope. And Cignetti has proven pretty early on that this team can play some pretty darn good football, quite frankly. And that FIU win sure looks a whole lot better this week than it did this time last week. So I think the importance of UCLA, validate that success. On first road opportunity, first conference game. This is only the 3rd game in Cignetti's career here at Indiana, and you're on national TV, prime time on Saturday night. Just an absolute monster opportunity to show what this team's capable of to a national audience, to get some West Coast alumni and fans engaged with the program again, and really put a stamp on the success that they've had so far against a Power 5 opponent. And I think this is one of those games where the momentum absolutely solidifies. This is one of those games where I feel like, the culture really gets set that they're trying to establish here. You've got to take that mindset on the road. You've got to take that mindset into the conference season. And let's be honest. I think everybody understands what Indiana has come out of in recent years, where they stand right now. But I'll tell you what, you look at the numbers, and this is a pretty good football team, top to bottom, offense, defense. They've got some playmakers here. Now they get to see how that translates against a higher degree of difficulty in an environment that's not going to be as friendly. And again, with the national audience. And I think if you can steal the victory on the road here, and I say steal, Indiana's favorite on the road, which alone is just a very uncommon occurrence.
In a conference game.
In a conference game.
When was the last time that was the case? This has to be against one of the low end teams, but even then, it's just not. That would have to have been back in the COVID season, maybe, or right around there. It just doesn't, like you said, that's not something that happens very often.
It's not, and that's the reality of Indiana's history, and nothing that they do is going to change that. That being said, there's nothing in our history that says that has to be the future. And I think this is one of those games where that translates. If you're able to get the win, it translates to the team, it translates to the pundit class, it translates to the fan base. That your eyes don't deceive you. This is a team that can play some good football, that can score a lot of points, that can get some stops, and a defense that can get off the field. And I think that's what fans are clamoring for. I think that's what we've seen, but now you've got to see it proven again against a higher degree of difficulty on the road.
Absolutely, and looking forward to the going out west. I'm looking forward to seeing how many Indiana fans make the trip. Not that I'm expecting 50,000 people to go out there, but this is a rare opportunity. You're going to the Rose Bowl, someplace that most Indiana fans thought that would never happen, although this is happening because of a conference game. Nonetheless, it's an incredible, historic, iconic venue, and it's kind of like the Indiana versus Arizona basketball game in Vegas last year, or whenever that was, year before last. These unique places. Indiana will travel, and if they start winning in football, maybe they start bringing the crowds on the gridiron as well.
That's the thing about Indiana, is they don't have to travel. They just have to go where people live, because when you have the second largest living alumni base in the nation, and you play in a major metropolitan area, you are inherently going to be surrounded by a lot of your fans, just because of the demographics, but because of the size of this school, the scope of its alumni base. And to go out there undefeated for the first time in almost half a century now, since they've played in that venue, I think you're going to see a very strong contingent of Indiana fans. This is not one of the most in-demand games of the year. UCLA generally is not one of the more in-demand teams right now in the Power Five. So I think it's going to be an opportunity for a lot of fans to get in at a pretty reasonable price in a historic venue, and most importantly, be enthusiastic. You're not going there because you're going to take a beating. Indiana has a very strong chance to win this game, and just in my conversations with friends, there's enthusiasm that is spreading right now, and a lot of folks have been tempered just because the quality of the opponents on the schedule so far. But I think this is really a tide turner if they're able to get the win.
Without question, and looking forward to it, as Curt Cignetti is doing pretty much what he said he would do. I know we're only 2 games in and they played 2 cream puffs, but Las Vegas recognizes Indiana as a favorite on the road, and that says a lot to me. Just a little surprised that they made them the favorite. I don't care either way, because I think they win. I think they win this game by 10 or more. I don't think UCLA is ready for the offense that Kurt Cignetti is going to bring. And by the offense, I mean the variety. Last week, you got a taste of it. And I know it was against Western Illinois, so I'm not saying it was because of the defense. But the fact that you score 11 touchdowns with 10 different guys and you're not trying to get a touchdown for these guys, it just happened. Well, that's variety to me.
Yeah, and it's a balanced offensive attack. They've been very effective in the run game so far. They've been extraordinarily efficient in the passing game. There's a period in the first half where Indiana was pretty much only running plays that resulted in first down, touchdowns, or pretty much nothing. There was not a lot of in between. It was just extraordinarily efficient. And I understand. There's a lot of fun things to do in Bloomington, not the least of which in the tailgate fields outside of a Memorial Stadium. And it was, again, disheartening to see, a very empty crowd to start and a much emptier crowd after halftime. I think that's always going to be a struggle when you're playing Friday night games, particularly when you've got every local high school in action.
I could not believe that, Chronic. I did not know until I heard later. All 3 local high schools had a home game that night, and there was a race at the Bloomington Speedway.
Yeah, I mean, and it straight up, man, it split my family in half. I was able to go with my son. Daughter had to go to South. It's the first home game they've had this year. And, as a senior, she's not trying to miss that. I get it. I don't blame her for it. It's just a tough situation. And even tougher still, that was a historic game, and you had virtually no recruits in the stands to watch it or on the sideline to watch it. I know it's early in the high school season, but your guys, your entire staff is shackled on the sidelines rather than out scouting, recruiting, making their presence known. And that's become one of the necessary evils in the cash grab that is college athletics now. Is you've got to maximize every revenue opportunity, and that's a chance to play with little competition for eyeballs on the TV set. So I understand why they do the Friday. It doesn't mean I like it. It doesn't mean I necessarily enjoy it. But at the end of the day, I certainly enjoy watching a record-breaking performance, and I will always love an evening under the lights in Memorial Stadium when sitting with my family. So it was a great time. I wish more people would have stuck around to see the end of it. But I don't think this is necessarily an indictment on the IU fan base. Trust takes some time to build. And
I think the fans were actually better this game. There were some students that stayed longer, especially the Crimson Guard, which I guess they almost have to. But I think that Indiana is going to set a record for sellouts this year, Chronic. As crazy as that sound with the fact that we're talking about crowds. But once Nebraska comes to town, how that game doesn't sell out, I'll be shocked. Following that, you've got a Washington team that is going to be good. You've got Michigan coming in, automatic sellout. Purdue coming in. Indiana could close the season with 4 home sellouts, and I'm pretty sure that would be a record.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where Michigan's enthusiasm is here at the end of the year. Michigan holds half of Indiana's largest drawing attendance games, the other half being Ohio State. So I'm real curious to see if the Wolverines are still feeling it in early November in Bloomington, Indiana. But there's still a lot of football to be played between now and then. But no, I think this is something you're going to see. It's like a snowball. I think enthusiasm around the program will continue to build. I think attendance will continue to grow. And I think the more you win, the more you accelerate that process. So once again, just another massive reason why this Saturday night, I think, is huge for Indiana. And not the least of which, you win this game, you're halfway to bowl eligibility with another pretty winnable non-conference game, a very winnable conference game against Maryland at home after that. And then you get to travel up to Evanston and go play on the pitch, in front of their whatever they're calling the stadium right now. So
football. They play a football game.
This sets up the first half of your season, which cements bowl eligibility. Halfway through the season, you could be bowl eligible, undefeated, and welcoming the Huskers to Bloomington. So
you heard it here first. 6-0 start, man. and it's going to be something. Chronic Hoosier, I cannot thank you enough as always, brother.
Thanks for having me, Jim. We'll catch you next week.
Absolutely. Chronic Hoosier joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. More coming up. Travis Miller from Boiler Upload will join us. And then next, we're going to hear from Coach Kurt Cignetti right after this.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off of your first order.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouth-watering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at cheryl@indyhomepros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@indyhomepros.com. In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Thank you so much for being with us. As always, finished up with Mike DeCourcy and Chronic Hoosier. Travis Miller from Boiler Upload will join us next as we'll talk more about the Big Ten. Purdue takes on Notre Dame this week. Kurt Cignetti met with the media yesterday as his weekly presser, as we saw him as Indiana prepares to head out west this week, although they will still have the coaches show Inside Indiana Football with Kurt Cignetti Thursday at Hoosier Hanks East, located over by the College Mall Road, before they head out west. So, but one of the questions asked of him yesterday was, what does it mean to go to, an iconic place like the Rose Bowl? And he's been to some places. He's coached in the Rose Bowl once with Alabama, but here's what Kurt Cignetti had to say.
Well, I mean, the Rose Bowl has a lot of tradition. People that follow football. For me and the team, it's more of a business trip, whether we're playing in a Rose Bowl or in a parking lot. It's all the same. Our preparation has to be excellent. starting today, string together a good sequence of nows and prepare to the best of our abilities so to give ourselves the best chance. And it's going to be a little longer trip out there, bus to Indianapolis, fly out there into LA, about an hour to the hotel. A little bit of a time change, but it's no big deal. So the venue, it's never really played a big part in it from a coaching standpoint. And we're looking forward to playing.
Seth, and you're right to Jack.
Yeah, Kurt, just how would you assess the way your offensive line has played for the first 2 weeks overall as you head into, your first Big Ten game, especially in the run game where, you've had so much success on the ground so far?
Yeah, well, I think those guys are working hard and they're developing. I don't know that we were really tested last week. And against Florida International, we ran the ball well. Wasn't real pleased with some of the protection issues we had. We'll be tested this week like we have not been tested.
Jack in front of Pete.
Hey, Kurt, what do you feel like has allowed defensively Coach Haynes to kind of translate a lot of the identity that he had at James Madison in terms of the strong run defense and tackles for loss, things like that, translate that to Indiana?
I think it's a culture, a mindset, an identity, and a philosophy. The program culture and mindset that we're an attacking type of team, relentless competitor, playing fast and physical, one play at a time. And then our style of defense is, we want to turn those guys loose up front and wreak havoc and disruption. And we've got pretty good speed at linebacker where guys can fit the gaps and cover. So, and his defense keeps you off balance. He's going to find ways to create TFLs and sacks and free guys up or get them good matchups. And, we've got some good players over there.
There's Kurt Cignetti talking about in the presser as Indiana will head up to take on UCLA. Love the quote, business trip, Rose Bowl, or parking lot. But that's how the mindset has to be for any team, any game, wherever you're going. But that's just further. He's not caught up in the minutia. It's focus on the task at hand. That's how it has to be, and that's how it will be. So looking forward to that. And looking forward to a lot of these other games. Like I said, they're not all conference games. The Notre Dame-Purdue game, as we'll talk with Travis Miller in the next segment about that one. I think that is a huge game for Purdue. And as I've said, what initially looked like just a brutal non-con schedule has now turned into a very potential opportunity for the Boilers that most, including me, would not have seen coming. But we'll find out, but there's no doubt they have an opportunity. They're at home. They've done things at home before that we didn't expect, and they look good. Their offense looked good against Indiana State. They haven't played since then. Unfortunately for Purdue, the worst thing I think that they have going against them is they did not play a second game, and that just hurts teams. It's going to be the same effect on UCLA. The UCLA didn't play a second game yet, where Indiana has, although it was a glorified scrimmage. It doesn't matter. It allows you to go out and do things with your offense or whatever the case may be. We've got lots more coming up. Cheryl Sizemore, Remax Realty, brought you this segment. Thank you very much, Cheryl. Hope all things are going well. Travis Miller from Boiler Upload joins us next here at the Hard Truth Studios. Back with more right after this.
This segment is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg.
In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at cheryl@indyhomepros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@indyhomepros.com.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf Community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off of your first order.
This segment is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Studios, baby, and it is a happy Tuesday. Travis Miller from Boiler Upload joins us now as well. Travis, how are you?
I am good. Jumped the gun a little bit there, didn't you, coming back from the break?
Yeah, you know, I was so excited because you're joining us, man.
Well, I am a man who brings a lot of excitement to wherever I go.
I know that Purdue fans are excited right now after seeing Notre Dame. Well, I don't know. Are they excited or not? Because you could look at it two ways. You could look at it from the standpoint that, oh, man, Notre Dame is not the juggernaut that some people thought that they were. I'm not one of those. I questioned them being a top 10 team immediately. But they were kind of exposed by Northern Illinois. And they've had a penchant for doing that at home in the last few seasons. But Purdue looked, although it was Indiana State, it's the same kind of a similar situation with Indiana and Western Illinois and FIU. But Purdue looked good. Hudson Card looked good. The offense looked good. They shut out the Sycamores. Don't get to play a week 2 game. College football needs to eliminate week 2 buys. Every team should get 2 games to open the season because coaches talk too much about the improvement between weeks 1 and weeks 2. So why take that away? I think that's just idiotic, especially with we've got the season spread out over 14 weeks or so now, and you've added a week 0. Man, there should be no week 2 buys, in my opinion. But those teams I think those teams kind of pay the price personally.
That's unfortunately another product of Big Ten expansion here. I believe the original schedule, Purdue was supposed to open the season with a conference game on Labor Day weekend, and Indiana State was supposed to be this past weekend. So up until Oregon, Washington at all joined the conference, the schedule didn't have a week 2 bye. So as it was, they had to talk to Indiana State and move that opener back so that they would have a game on the opening weekend. Otherwise, they would have had their bye to start the season. So it is what it is. And I think that, there's both some pluses and minuses to it. Purdue's going to come in about as healthy as you can ask for this game. And I also would like to thank Notre Dame for their just dedication to not wanting to hit that unranked Purdue versus a top 5 team voodoo. I mean, they're really sticking to it a bit to avoid that.
I'm looking. This is a game that would be gigantic for Purdue because they almost have to win. I don't want to say they have to win it, but they have to win one of these 2 remaining non-con games, in my opinion, to get to a bowl game. I think maybe not, but there's a big opportunity with this Notre Dame team because I don't think they're as good as a lot of people do. And going to Oregon State, I don't know what that's going to be like other than first of all, it's going to be a road game like Indiana going to UCLA this weekend, but Oregon State plays Oregon this week. So Purdue fans will have a much better understanding of where they are. 10.5-point underdog Purdue is. And I'm like, yeah, I'll take that. As a matter of fact, I might have gotten it at 11.5. I don't recall, but I'm like, yeah, I'll take that. And so Purdue fans should be kind of jacked a little bit this week. I'm sure Ross Aid will be packed and lively.
Well, given their struggles offensively against a team like Northern Illinois, can Notre Dame score 10 points to win, or 11 points, to win by 10.5 points? I kid there because I think that at this point you have to be really concerned with how much Notre Dame was pushed around on the lines. Northern Illinois was able to come in and kind of, shockingly have a solid running game against Notre Dame. And then I know that Notre Dame's past protection was a big question mark coming into the season. They held up pretty well, but Riley Leonard was still missing on some big throws and threw a really, really poor interception that set up Northern Illinois' last drive. So I think you're seeing a team that has a lot of questions. And like you said, Purdue looked good. You can only take so much from blowing out Indiana State. I recognize that. But Hudson Card had a single incompletion against the Sycamores. He was 24 of 25 for 273 yards and 4 touchdowns. Even if you're throwing against air, that's really, really good. And I think it's a game where if Purdue can come out and get an early score to kind of set the tone, they're going to have Notre Dame on the back foot. Notre Dame has to be questioning itself. You lose a game as a 4-touchdown favorite at home to a MAC school, that's going to shake anybody right now. So it's a case of Notre Dame has a lot to prove. And I've seen some questions here with some of the losses that Marcus Freeman has had to Marshall, to a really bad Stanford team, and now Northern Illinois. If they were to drop this Purdue game, what questions start swirling around Marcus Freeman then? So I think suddenly it's a pretty big game for Notre Dame as well to kind of right the ship and show that, maybe they can live up to these expectations that were put on them this year.
No question about that, in my opinion as well. Earlier, I mentioned that I had I've not released it yet, but I am. It should be out today. But I have developed what I call my own Big Ten football power index, and I've got all the teams in place, but I just don't have the blurb. There are like 4 or 5 teams I haven't released the blurbs for yet. But ironically, though, even though I have teams that are wherever, you can throw a rope. Number 1, obviously Ohio State. Number 2 for me is USC, best win in the conference this year. I reluctantly, and I mean reluctantly, have Penn State at the number 3 spot. I am, after last week, you talk about getting pushed around by Bowling Green. They win by a touchdown, and that game they were down at the half. So Nebraska looked great against a Colorado team that's not as good as everybody thinks they are. There's a lot of hype
with Colorado. But Nebraska looked good. Their true freshman quarterback not looking like a true freshman. That's going to be, I don't know or does Purdue play Nebraska this year?
Yes, that is the Big Ten opener in 2 weeks.
So, wow. Well, Indiana plays them later as well. And I think that's going to be a tough game for both squads.
Of Purdue's 5 remaining home games, 4 of the teams are currently in the top 25. So, as you said, they're going to have to.
Welcome to Indiana. Welcome to what Indiana used to live with.
Because they've got Notre Dame, they've got Notre Dame, they got Nebraska, they've got Oregon, they got Penn State at home. The only unranked team that they've got to play is Northwestern. But I mean, you look at Oregon right now. I mean, that is a shaky team. I'm not so much concerned about them struggling with a really good Boise State team.
It's funny you say that, because that's exactly in my description. Oregon has looked shaky at times. That's exactly how I describe them. They're looking shaky against so-so teams.
I'm more concerned about the fact that it took them more than 3 quarters to put away an FCS team in Idaho. That should be alarming, especially if you're a top 5 team. I am there is no valid excuse for a Power 4 team to lose to an FCS team unless you're dumb enough to schedule one of the Dakotas, like North Dakota State or South Dakota State. I think they kind of have proven that they are the exception at this point. But that game where Idaho just took them out of everything that they wanted to do is very concerning to me if you're an Oregon fan. And they now have to go on the road against an Oregon State team that is their rival, that probably wants to prove that they are good enough to be on the same level as Oregon. And you may have to put them on upset watch this week, because I'm not sold on Oregon. They can get a lot of yards, but they can't finish drives.
Yeah, I in my my power index, I'm not sure. There are about 9 teams you can throw a rope over right now, and that includes Oregon's in there, but they may not be in that 9 after this week. But I've got Penn State is in that 9. It's just they're not. To me, they are not outside. They're in the average. They're in the midsection of the Big Ten. Now the Big Ten is very top heavy with just USC and Ohio State at the top, but their middle is fat as all get out, because there is not enough separation for me right now between Penn State, Nebraska, Illinois, Michigan State, who goes on the road and gets a win. Illinois with a huge win over number 19 Kansas. Wisconsin, we'll find out this week as they host Alabama. Indiana, who we'll find out this week as they travel to UCLA. Washington, Michigan losing. They might fade for me. They're also a team that I never thought highly of this year. Iowa loses at home. The offense that we thought that they had, they get 19 points or 17, whatever they scored. Rutgers, Minnesota.
Kirk Ferentz is officially a restrictor plate.
That's funny as hell.
I think that's proven now. They score 40 points without him. He comes back and be like, no, we're doing it my way, and scoring 19 points at home.
The bottom 3 teams I have are Maryland, UCLA, and Northwestern. Northwestern better win this week. I think it's their last opportunity to get a win for the season. But that's just my layout. Purdue will get an opportunity to show where they are in this. Are they in the middle, or the top of the middle, or the bottom of the middle? That's the middle is a, like I said, it's a fat middle. There's a top and a bottom and a gigantic middle. Doing this is like doing the entire AP top 25 with 18 stinking teams in this. It took forever. And like I said, finally I'm like going, to hell with this. I'll finish this tomorrow, man. It was just so long. But the Big Ten with 18 teams now, I'm wondering if they ever go to 20, do you go back to divisions?
I had proposed that if they do it, they add the West Coast schools, and then they have the 10 East schools, the 10 West schools, and then magically have this championship game in the Rose Bowl every year between the East and the West. that.
Yeah, but see that now you're back to the Big Ten East again with Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State alone that are usually at the top. Right now, that's not quite the case. It is 2 out of the 3, but yeah, I don't know.
It's going to be worse for basketball. It's going to be even worse for basketball. I hate it.
But the good thing is, I do love the upsets we've seen. Man, the portal has really equalized. Things are kind of equalized. You still have the teams at the top that we normally see at the top, but they're susceptible. They seem more susceptible, at least. Georgia, while everyone thinks is a solid number 1, are they? Nationally is very much like the Big Ten, very top heavy. Everyone thinks, all right, you've got Georgia, Ohio State, and Texas, and then it's that throw a rope over a group of it's the same thing nationally as it is the Big Ten right now. The SEC, however, 7, what do they have? 6 out of the top 7 teams, and 11 out of the top 10 are either the Big Ten or the SEC, which, of course, we expect it to be that way. But is the SEC that much better? I think that they are this year because the Big Ten just doesn't have those teams at the top. But I think we're going to see teams get better that are going to – some are going to climb out of that and some are going to drop.
Yeah, I tend to think so. And, you still have some shaky teams. I mean, Alabama won by a large margin this past week, but that was way too close of a game into the fourth quarter for them. And Auburn loses at home to Cal. I think there is definitely some evening, rising tides here and whatnot. What I'm curious to see is how Purdue continues to look with its transfers. They seem to be a program that wants to try this whole, hey, we were getting some third string guys that were 4-star recruits at Georgia, and they weren't playing at Georgia. Can they come to Purdue and have success? And one of those was receiver Denylon Morissette. He had a touchdown in the season opener against Indiana State. You've got Hudson Card, who looked really, really good. He was going to be the third stringer at Texas behind Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning. So I think you're going to start to see a little bit more of that where guys go to one of these big schools like a Georgia, like a Texas, like an Alabama. And if it doesn't work out and they're not playing within a year or two, they're going to look elsewhere to go and play where they can. And so far, it looks like Purdue is one of those teams that is benefiting from that. Again, very small sample size. They have one game against a bad FCS team. But there were transfers all over the roster that contributed. You had Reggie Love III from Illinois got a touchdown. You had Jamal Edrin from FAU had 4 catches for 59 yards. Leland Smith, JUCO transfer, had a touchdown. And that's just what you're going to see. And if Purdue can have success that way, it can work. And I know we saw it a little bit last year with excuse me. We saw it a little bit last year with Florida State going undefeated. Then they lose everybody. They go to the portal and look at where they are now. So it's a high risk, high reward situation. And I'm going to be interested to see how it works out, at least for Purdue, because you're having multiple starters that are still in their first year, and at least through one game, the experiment's working.
Absolutely, man. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to this weekend. It's going to be fun. Travis Miller from Boiler Upload. Cannot thank you enough.
Thank you for having me, Jim. I appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. Another fun day here on Indiana Sports B Radio with Mike DeCourcy, Chronic Hoosier, and Travis Miller from Boiler Upload. Back tomorrow once again to do it again. Dylan Sin, Greg Wright will probably join us from Rivals Nationals. We'll talk about more football. Kyle Nenrip from the Indy Star we'll check up on Indiana high schools, see what they're doing. And the man, Rick Bozich, will join us as well, as we've got plenty more to get to from the Hard Truth Studios. Man, it has been a fun day, as it is always, mostly because of you guys. Without you, we have no reason to be here, but we're grateful for you. Big thanks to Mike and Chronic and Travis, as well as Skylar, producer, for keeping us between the white lines. We're going to be back to do it all again tomorrow.
Until then, I'm Jim Coyle from the Hard Truth Studios. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.